Right, so Angela Salmeron, I am an IDC analyst. For those who don't know IDC, we are part of IDG. But anyway, we are a big IT analyst house across the world. I believe there are about 1,400 analysts across the world. And I lead the future of work, workplace transformation, basically. And what I'm going to speak to you today is around the workplace and around work. Work, which is, as we heard earlier from Rajesh, is evolving rapidly. The workplace, as we define it today, modern, is resilient, as it says there, is very human-centric, it is sustainable, and it has to be extremely adaptable. Why? Because what we have ahead of us is a very, very bumpy road. We know that for certain. At the moment, obviously, the workplace cannot be disconnected from the environment. And look at what we have in front of us. The politics in-house are extremely unstable, and that has obviously destabilized as well financial markets. We have rising energy costs, which is obviously impacting the cost of living. Finally, we have as well serious shortages of talent in this country. I believe we have about 1,300,000 jobs open in this country, still not filled. And apparently, and this is the Bank of England, and this is obviously the overall sentiment, we are heading into a recession. I think, technically speaking, you are in a recession if you are in 2 consecutive quarters with negative growth. The Bank of England thinks that we are going to be in a recession for 5 quarters. Let's see what happens. But we are not alone. We know that the world as well is in a similar shape. And why I'm presenting the macroeconomic environment? Because the workplace has to fit into this world which has to adapt constantly. Whatever you have in front of you, you have to be riding out of the recession, but being ahead of the curve. I think this is something which is crucially going to, allow you to thrive as a company, is to have that resilient, adaptable workplace, fundamentally. Now, what I've prepared in my session, which is going to be for about half an hour, is to show you what are the key traits, the key characteristics of that modern workplace. And I have selected 10 trends. Now, you might disagree with me. Absolutely, you are entitled to that. We have a Q&A session at the end, and I love to hear your thoughts, feedback, and questions. Okay, so let's start with trend number 1. Number 1 is whereas in the past, the workplace used to be very much in the remit of the IT department. Now we've seen that actually there are other stakeholders in the negotiation table defining the workplace. Something that started some time ago, but definitely happened during the pandemic. During the pandemic, when many companies had to send their people home, you had what we call the dream team. The dream team got together, right, the C-suite, and tried to address areas such as, well-being, security, digital strategy, HR. Everyone got together. Anyway, this exercise is staying with us, meaning as we define the modern workplace, you're going to see the C-suite working together. And it's happening in the UK in 60% of companies. You might wonder, so what happens, right, when we are defining the workplace? The CIO has decision-making power in about 1 in 4 companies. They hold the budget in another 1 in 4 companies, but the rest is about being influential. Again, you are in the IT department sitting next to other stakeholders. And as you can see, everyone has quite a key interest in the workplace. The gender could be, obviously for the CIO, CTO, is about defining the workplace, the digital adoption, because by the way, you won't believe this, 1 in 2 UK employees are saying that they find very difficult to adopt new technology because they don't have the training in place. So anyway, this is an area for the IT department. The HR department is struggling to retain talent. Job attrition is a huge concern these days. The CDO that wants to, again, carry on with the digital strategy, but needs to have everyone on board, and it's through the workplace. COO, CFO addressing, again, agility, sustainability, etc. And then the CEO that obviously has everything, the full agenda, but this definitely talent retention is a big problem for the CEO. And you can see that in the financial reports, the CEO with a preface, thinking about how good they are retaining their talent, etc. So when I want to emphasize that in the workplace, it's not just the IT department, there are all the stakeholders working together. Second trend, right. So we heard that from Rajesh in the first presentation. Work is anywhere, anytime, and is here to stay. In the UK, 1 in 4 employees work hybrid. Now, remember that not everyone can work hybrid. Many jobs obviously require you to be in front of the client. Many jobs are regulated. You have to be on site. But to have 1 in 4 employees working hybrid is high. You go into the continent, even you go into Eastern Europe, and there is more propensity to work in the office. So here in the UK, I think we are privileged to have that flexibility. And yes, to Raj's point, people want flexibility. We have developed some forecasts. You have some forecasts here. This is just for office workers. And it's next year, in 2023, when we expect people working full-time in the office to peak. People working full-time in the office to peak. And then it will go down. Why is that? So yes, throughout the pandemic, people have been working more and more at home. Now what we are seeing is employers are very keen to bring everyone back into the office full-time. We don't think they are going to succeed. We think that flexibility is going to be with us, right? So, and that's why we are seeing that downward trend. So bear that in mind, that flexibility, again, is with us. And by the way, the flexibility and the hybrid work is not just, or shouldn't be seen exclusively as an employee perk. It's not an employee benefit. Number one is profitability. Actually, companies think that by working hybrid, it has significant cost savings. It's improving the bottom line of the company. It's increasing employee productivity. People are happier. Employee experience, customer experience. Employees are happy, customers are happy. And finally, sustainability, which I will address at the very end of this session. So again, think that flexibility is not just an employee benefit. Trend number 3 is about the office. So I've been saying that hybrid is here to stay. And how many companies think that, okay, so what's the role of the office? What's happening? The office is not there. There is a role for the office. Because at the moment, the thinking is that employees are not connected. Employees are not engaged. So the office could have a big role to play. It's in the office when employees can, have that sort of sense of belonging for the company, when you can have that bonding between employees. So again, the office has a place to roll. And what we are seeing at the moment is that 84% of UK companies are redefining their workplace. What does it mean? It means actually two things, and it's split half and half. Half of the companies, of that 84, are repurposing their offices, their buildings, pulling down walls, rearranging desks, rooms, because they want to create that experience for their employees, that sense of, belonging, the image and branding of the company manifested through the office. So again, half are repurposing their offices, the other half is relocating their offices. And when I say relocation, um, I don't have the stats with me, but I believe that they are downsizing. How much? Don't ask me. Um, JLL, which is a commercial real estate company, as you know, they are saying that companies are using the ones relocating, they are using the hub and spoke topology, right? So hub meaning headquarters, not necessarily London, it could be somewhere else, and then the spoke, right? Small offices, small branches elsewhere, near to different pockets of people, because again, the office has a role to play. What are the technologies that are becoming demanded in the workplace? So, is on one side you have the office space planning, meaning that as we have irregular flows of people in and out of the office, the facilities manager has a very difficult role to play, right? They need to ensure that when people are in the office, they have the right resources. And that could be, from desk to conferencing, etc. So that will be a key area. That 43%, which doesn't show the label, refers to conferencing. Again, that's another area where IT managers and the workplace managers are investing quite substantially around conferencing, smart meeting rooms, etc. The automation of workflows, something I've seen, particularly in the last year, is this app that you have in your mobile phone. This is an example, which is called A Day in the Office. And what you're doing through that app is pretty much booking your day in the office, from booking your parking space, booking your desk, booking your meeting room, and everything follows a workflow. So again, it's a way also to allow the facilities manager to have everything in place. And then security audit management, which I thought that the biometric identification was going to be, be widely adopted. It is, I can see from our statistics, is not that yet. What we are seeing is primarily is a badge with your ID or your mobile phone as you enter into the building. Biometrics, again, is not there yet. Now, let's go into, we addressed earlier about IT support, management, security problems. I tried to remove the numbers because I didn't want to distract you with so many numbers, but basically, as we build that hybrid workplace for good, we need to address some problems which are actually not new. They've been with us for a number of years. But throughout the pandemic, obviously, they just became, how can I say, became bigger. And I have grouped them between security and IT challenges. With the security ones, I tried to distinguish them between the challenges from the managers and the challenges from the employee. The challenges from the manager are obviously around, okay, so I have my employees connecting into the network using unmanaged devices. They are actually connecting from an unmanaged network. Wow, how can I control this? It's all about data loss prevention. It's cybersecurity. Again, this is not new, but still it's a problem. In IT, it's primarily around IT support. That me as an employee, I raise a ticket, and it takes me at least a day to have it sorted. And basic things as well as an employee, right? The device performance is not that good. Internet connectivity is not working that well. But this is very much how it works now. Again, from the security side is around the fact that there are challenges around data loss prevention. Security is very tight. Employees cannot do their work because security is very tight. And then the IT side is all around IT support and help desk. It's not there yet. It's not intelligent there. So how can we build that modern workplace? A modern workplace in which you bring together your employees, your gig workers, your partners, and you do it in a seamless way. And I will define this as really a borderless workplace. Is what we call to have a perimeter-less security architecture. Hello. We have a chair to sit down. And it's in this environment, this perimeter-less environment in which a cloud infrastructure exists, cloud application exists. And here you have the list of the top digital solutions. These are the ones that companies are investing the most. And I believe, cloud productivity suites, I believe we have Soho Workspace, video conferencing, I believe we have Soho meetings. Anyway, these are typical of the most invested solutions at the moment. So how can you build that security infrastructure, given that we are in that borderless environment? Most organizations are adopting a zero trust approach, right? One in which transactions are not trusted unless they are verified, unless they are authenticated. And in my opinion, but you might have obviously different views, zero trust obviously comprises many different security technologies, but if there is one which I think is crucial, is identity management. Is that secure remote access. Why? Because in my opinion, this is when you have identity in place, you establish the trust between security and the employee, which I try to represent here. Security might be seen as a blocker, right? It doesn't allow you to do your work. And then people want to do their work. They want to have a great experience. If you have a great remote access solution, a great identity management solution, you can establish that trust. And IT support, right, in which Managed Engine obviously has a great portfolio. More and more we are seeing that intelligent IT support, that intelligent digital workspace, one that has the automation, the self-healing, the self-service capabilities. But actually, this is a minority today. In the UK, more than, I believe, 1 in 2 companies have a traditional IT support, one which is labor intensive, it is high touch, and it's very reactive, right? One in which you wait for the ticket to arrive before you can even reply. It has to change. If you have a distributed workforce, if you have a hybrid workplace, that has to change. You need this. And with this, obviously, that allows you to proactively identify problems. It allows you to, even if the problem arrives, you can identify it before it becomes bigger. Anyway, the advantages, you know them all. They are quite substantial. And it's not just the IT side. Look also at the business outcomes of this model. If you have visibility of your IT assets, you can guess, you can see the performance of those IT assets. And it's through that performance that you can assess whether, okay, is it time to retire them, to bring them to the end of life? can expand their life cycle, their life for a bit longer. I mean, given the macroeconomic environment, tight budget cuts, if you have visibility of your assets, you know exactly whether it's time again to rationalize them depending on usage, extend their life, etc. So think as well about the business outcomes. And third is the experience that people get when you have this model in place. Because you have an intelligent IT support, the downtime of people goes down. People are more productive. People are happier. And it's not just people across the organization, even your IT department will be happier. Your level one support, if you have this in place, they can do other more critical and strategic things for the company. So again, there's a win-win everywhere, financially, employee experience, but also for the IT department. And that takes me to employee experience. Um, Employee experience has been addressed earlier by Rajesh, is an area which obviously throughout the pandemic has, how can I say, exploded, probably. The expectations, as Rajesh mentioned, they are going higher and higher and higher. And it is true, for many employees, it's very difficult to meet. We know throughout probably the last year that the bargaining power of employees is big. The power is with them. I've been asked, okay, if we're heading to recession, do we still have the power? In this country, yes, quite likely, just because, it's still a market in short supply of talent. So in the UK, 1 in 3 employees, and these are statistics from April, are switching jobs. You have heard about the Great Resignation. I don't like to call it the Great Resignation. I much prefer to call it the Great Reshuffle, simply because people have been moving jobs quite substantially in the last year. Many others have stayed in their jobs. It's what we call the quiet quitting. You do your minimum, right? What it says is that people are reconsidering their jobs. People are reconsidering their careers. And that's why it's so important, the employee experience and the employee retention. There are costs associated with employee attrition, significant costs. Now, we try to understand exactly why people are leaving their jobs. It doesn't show the 42, okay, that's a mystery, that's the question mark. Number one is better pay, of course. You see jobs, you want a higher salary, of course. But number two, and it doesn't show there, is working experience. 42% of those who want to switch jobs are telling us that I want to move into a company that offers me a better experience. Now, how can you do a better working experience? We asked that particular question in our surveys. And I wanted to show you the response from managers and the response from employees. The response from employers is often, let's do it with technology. And they are right. And they are very right, because you address experience with technology and you go quite along, you make significant progress. So at the moment, managers are addressing, again, working experience by investing in collaboration, the real-time collaboration we heard earlier, enabling the secure hybrid workplace, DI, of course. I think diversity, equity, and inclusion is becoming more and more a big policy these days. What I mentioned earlier about the responsive IT support and the analytics and AI for teamwork. So it's a mix of, again, IT support, collaboration, etc., through the eyes of technology. For employees, they are quite happy with this, but they want more. Employees, and by the way, this is not the Gen Zs and the young generations. In actual fact, what I'm going to tell you now applies to all generations, particularly 35 plus. Can you believe? Employees want um, a nourishing culture, one in which they can develop themselves through their company. And it's very much like a holistic way and how they see themselves evolving through their companies. They want purpose at work. And that purpose is through, it could be, we want to impact the planet, we want to impact society, but we want more. We think that profits and shareholders' returns is not enough. That's becoming more and more in our surveys. And they want, again, an employer to look after them from a career development, but also well-being. Well-being, well, that's probably the only time I'm using this word here, but I cannot tell you the conference I've spoken to in which well-being was featured everywhere. Now, again, going back to employee experience, crucial in the war for talent. The top, these are numbers that has been produced internally in IDC because of the IT talent, shortages in IT talent that we have today. This is going to impact significantly companies across Europe. And look at the number, 191 billion revenue lost simply because companies cannot deliver. They cannot deliver because they don't have the right talent within the organizations. I think we need to put attention to that. So yes, need for training, need for certifications, there is no doubt about that, but also something we've seen more and more is IT democratization that Rajesh addressed to earlier. So I don't need to be, what is IT democratization? I don't need to be a data scientist in order to understand and manipulate data. You know, the tool is so simple that I can operate with it. I don't need to be an app developer because with low code, no code, I can create my own workflows. And this is more and more becoming a trend. And it's a good way to really elevate the skills of people, even though they haven't gone through the formal training. So we are going to see more of that. And sustainability, right? This is a theme which is very, very close to my heart. I'm very happy to take any questions about this theme in the Q&A. Probably many of you have been following the COP27. And obviously, this is not the COP27 a discussion at high level, but I do believe that starts at the micro level from your workplace, or even from your home. But anyway, this is about the workplace, so let's concentrate on the workplace. Companies, they can be sustainable for many different reasons. Some of them are saying because of compliance reasons, others because it's the right thing to do. Others are using sustainability as a competitive advantage. And I can tell you more of that in the Q&A if you're interested. Here in the UK, and by the way, in Europe it's a different story, but here in the UK, you have the TCFD, which I believe stands for Task Force for Climate, oh dear, I can't remember. Oh, the financial disclosure. Task Force for the Climate Financial Disclosure. Anyway, if you are one of the top 1,300 UK companies, your company is trading the stock exchange, you need to submit this particular ESG reporting. And in this reporting, it's about disclosing your carbon footprint. And by the way, if it's not regulated, you should know at the moment, and this is in the IT industry, 1 in 2 companies are requiring in their RFPs to their supplier to demonstrate their sustainability credentials. Sustainability at the moment is a big, big criteria. Again, now, how do you ensure that you have that sustainability and those ESG criteria in place. So from the workplace, you can do it at 3 levels. It's the sustainable workplace, sustainable IT hardware, and the sustainable IT software. With the workplace, it refers to the building. And here it's about ensuring that you are optimizing your energy resources, or you are using renewable energy. And obviously, there is a mix of technologies. You can use IoT, sensors, digital twins. But this is an area where, particularly in this country, in the UK, there is a big emphasis, right, about reducing your carbon footprint through your buildings. In the hardware, we go into that circular economy. At the moment, the way IT is considered is in a linear economy. Okay, I buy technology, I use it, I dispose of it, it goes to the landfill, goodbye. The circular economy tries to get that the materials and the equipment you are using, one gets to the end of the life, it goes back into the production cycle. And that's why it's important, start from the design. So anyway, circular economy is another way to get your sustainability on check. And finally, is the sustainability IT software. And this is, because we're moving more and more into the cloud, this is about ensuring that the data center you're using for your servers and where you run your workloads, if you are with the hyperscalers, those data centers have more and more a low carbon footprint. And if you're with hyperscalers, know that they have a migration or a migration in place to move into a green infrastructure. And I know that the likes of AWS, Google, Azure, Microsoft, anyway, they have very aggressive transition migrations into a green infrastructure. I believe by 2035, if not earlier, they are going to become green. So again, these are the 3 areas that you can start doing from now. And you will see that more and more regulations are going to require that from you. And not just regulations, your employees want to work in a green workplace. Your shareholders are demanding this as well, a green workplace. So again, this is becoming just part of it. Yes, that's the end.
Okay, thank you.